Hello everyone, my name is Umbir Singh, Department of Geology, Government College for Women, Gohana. Today I am here to discuss about the important topic, the morphology of cockroach. Before going on the morphology of cockroach, we talk about the classification of cockroach. The cockroach belong to phylum Arthropoda as it has the jointed legs. Class Insecta, there is one or two pair of wings attached to the thorax. Order Dictyostera as the insect with filiform antenna with many segments. It belongs to family Belatidae as there is the folding of hind wings, spines in femur. It belongs to genus Periplaneta and species americana. Before going on the external morphology of Periplaneta, we discuss about the class Insecta. In phylum Arthropoda, the class Insecta is the largest and most successful group of metazoan in terms of number of species and their distributions and adaptations. They are mostly terrestrials and air-breathing organisms. The bodies with distinct head, thorax, abdomen, one pair of antennae, three pair of jaws, three pair of walking legs, and one pair of wings. In case of insecta, the respiration takes place by tracheal system. So, of more than 1.2 million of presently known animal species, about 75% are insect alone. Thus, we can see that we are living in the age of insect. The most familiar examples of insecta are cockroaches, grasshoppers, houseflies, honeybees, silkworms, etc. Cockroaches are tropical and subtropical insects widely distributed throughout the world except the polar regions. About 3,000 species of the cockroaches are known to the world, but in India, three species are common. First is Periplaneta americana, commonly called American cockroach. Second is Bleta orientalis, commonly called Oriental cockroach. And third is Bletella germanica, commonly called the German cockroach. Here for the study, we take the Periplanta americana. Why we take the Periplanta americana? Because it shows insect structure in fundamental forms. Second is it is suitable throughout the year. It is harmless to handle. Fourth, it is of size convenient for dissections. Fifth is its natural history and anatomy have been thoroughly worked out. Now we talk about the habit and habitat or the ecology of cockroach. Periplanta americana is common household insect pest that survives under stones, damp leaves, and in places where there are warmth and food remains. You see, the kitchens, hotels, bakeries, godowns, storerooms, grain markets, sweet shop, fruit stalls, ships, trains, and channels, sewage channels, etc. It has been known that in India, the cockroaches are transported or imported through the trading ships from the various localities as is given in their names. Suppose American cockroach restricted to America, Oriental cockroaches and German cockroaches. So these are transported or imported to India through the trading ships. Then next, cockroaches are active in summers. These are nocturnal. They are more active during the night. During the daytimes, they hides in holes or crevices and emerges out at night in search of food. In feeding habit, cockroaches are omnivores. They consume plant material as well as the animal materials. Even other materials like the leather, paper, clothes, etc. form the diet of their food, part of their food. It also shows cannibalism. Cannibalism is a phenomenon in which one individual feed upon the individual of the same species. So the cockroach feed on the other organism of their species. So there is the cannibalism. It is cursorial in locomotion. Cursorial means the legs or the locomotory organelles are adapted for running. No, the respirations in insecta or in cockroaches, the respiration takes place by the tracheal system. There is the sexual dimorphism. Male and the female cockroaches are separate. Fertilization is internal. Female is oviparous and lays egg in egg case called as the ootheca. Development is direct and includes a nymph which undergoes gradual metamorphosis. Now we talk about the external morphology of cockroach. The body of the cockroach is elongated, ovoid, and dorsally flattened and dark brown in color. It measures about 38 mm long and 12 mm wide. Symmetry is bilateral. Entire body is covered by the chitinous hard plate called sclerites. It is externally covered by waxy and secreted by underlying hypodermis. The adjacent sclerites are joined together by thin flexible articulars called as the arthrodial membranes. It allows movement. Then what is the significance of exoskeleton? The cuticle protects the body from the loss of water, provides rigidity and surface for attachment of muscles. It also lines trachea and genital ducts. Cuticle invaginates to form the foregut as well as the hindgut. It forms stiff and movable spines or the bristles on the body and appendages. Then next we talk about the body division of cockroach. The body of the cockroach externally segmented and divisible into separate head, thorax and abdomen regions. First we talk the head regions. The head is small, triangular, pear-shaped, hypognathous in position. Hypognathous position means the mouth parts are directed downwards. It is flattened and placed at right angle to the longitudinal axis of the body and rarely visible in dorsal view. It is attached to the thorax by narrow neck. It is formed by the fusion of the 6 embryonic segments. The whole head is covered by the sclerites or chitinous plate. All sclerites of the head are fused and forming head capsules. The fused margins are visible as lines called sutures. The top vertex of the head is covered by a pair of epicranial plates, the jointed in front by the inverted Y-shaped epicranial or the medial suture. These sutures become indistinct in the adult cockroach. The broad unpaired plate situated between the below the arms of the epicranial suture is called as the frons. Below the frons is a broad rectangular plate known as clypeus. There is a faint lines the frontoclypeus sutures between the frons and the clypeus. The two sides of the eyes are covered by two plates termed cheek or gena. The gena lies below the eyes. The upper lip or the labrum is flap-like plate which is movably attached to the lower edge of the clypeus by the labroclapial suture. On the ventral side of the head capsules is made up of the post-occipital and the post-gena on each side of the occipital foramen. Then we talk about the appendages of head. The appendages of head comprises the compound eyes, antenna, and fenestra or ocellular spots. Compound eyes. There are one pair of large sessile black reniform kidney-shaped compound eyes, one on each sides of the dorsolateral side of the head. Each eyes are the head appendages of the first head segment. Each is formed of about 2000 visual units. These are hexagonal in shapes called as the ommatidia. Each ommatidiums the function as the separate visual receptor. The next is the antenna. These are one pair of long, jointed and cylindrical structure movably articulated or attached in the antennal socket inner to compound eyes. Anterior are the head appendages. Antenna are the head appendages of the second head segments. Each antenna is formed of the three parts. The proximal larger is called as the scape, the middle smaller segment is called as the pedicel, and the distal longer and the many jointed flagellum. The flagellum is with sensory bristles. These are olfactory and tactile in function. Cockroach antenna generates mainly olfactory, gustatory, tactile, thermal and humidity senses. There are one pair of the rounded and the whitish areas of the degenerated ocelli called fenestrae, or also called as the simple eyes, present inner to antennal socket. These are sensitive to light. Then next we talk about the mouth parts. These are the head appendages which surrounds the mouth. The mouth parts helps the cockroach in biting and chewing. The mouth parts in cockroach are mandibular types. The mouth part encloses a pseudocoel called the preoral cavity. The mouth part includes the labrum, mandible, maxilla, labium, and hypopharynx. Labrum is the appendages of the third head segment and forms anterior wall of the preoral cavity, so is called as the upper lip. It is broad rectangular plate which is movably attached to the lower margin of the clypeus. Its lower end is nosed and inner surface has gustatory linings called epipharynx. It serves to hold the food. It moved by the muscle present on its base. The second part is mandibles. There are one pair of the stout, unjointed, highly sclerotized triangular structure presented on each lateral sides of the heads below the gena. The lower part of the inner margin is called as the molar area and the toothed-like denticles, while the upper part called the prostheca is soft and bears sensory hairs. The inner margin of the each mandible is made of the two small cutting lobes, distal incisors and proximal molar. Mandibles are the head appendages of the fourth head segment. The next part is the first maxilla. These are one pair of appendages of the fifth head segment and lies on either side of the head below the mandibles. Each maxilla is biramous and formed of the three parts. The basal part is called as the protopodite and the middle part is the endopodite and the hind part is the exopodite. The exopodite arises from the ridge called palpifar present on the outer side of distal end of the steps and formed of the five segmented maxillary palp with sensory bristles. The first maxilla act as the accessory jaws. The works sideways serves to hold the food particles in between the mandibules for cutting and chewing. They also serves to clear the antenna and forelegs. The next part is the labium, also called as the second maxilla. Labium is appendages of the sixth head segments. It is broad plate from the posterior margin of the preoral cavity, so it is called as the lower lip. It is formed by the fusion of two biramous appendages, the second maxilla. It's consisted of the following parts. The first is protopodite. These are completely fused to form the broad plate, which is divisible into proximal and broader postmentums and smaller prementum. Postmentum is again divisible into proximal submentum and distal mentum. The second part is endopodite. These are particularly fused and forms ligulae. Ligula is formed of inner smaller glossa and outer paraglossa. Then third part is exopodites. These are completely separated and forms three segmented labial palp with sensory bristles and arise from the small ridge called palpature of prementum. The next and last part is hypopharynx. It is also called as lingua or tongue. Hypopharynx is a tongue-like structure hanging in preoral cavity. It has a comb-like chitinous plate called superlingua on either side. It mixes the food with saliva. The second region of the body is the thorax. The middle region of the body is thorax. Consists of it consists of three distinct segments: the anterior prothorax, the middle mesothorax, and the last is metathorax. The three thoracic segments are covered by relatively thicker and the larger trageids called nota and or traga. The notum of the prothorax is called as the pronotum. Is very large and covers the neck. Each of the mesonotums and metanotums bears a pair of wings. Smaller plates, the sternum ventrally, and two lateral sclerites called pleura. Four sclerites of the east segments and sclerites of the adjacent segments are joined by the thin and flexible arthrodial membranes. The next is the thoracic appendages. These are of two types: walking legs and wings. Walking legs. Thorax bears three pair of walking legs. One pair attaches ventrally to the sternum of each of the prothorax, mesothorax, and metathorax, respectively, and called proleg, mesolegs, and metalegs, so placed in class Hexapoda. All the legs are similar in structures while size of the legs increase posteriorly. Then next is the wings. The cockroach has two pair of wings which dorsally covers the entire body. One pair of wings are attached dorsolaterally between trachum and pleurons of both mesothorax and metathorax. Then the last region of the body is the abdomen. The posterior region of body is called abdomen. In cockroaches, abdomen is long, narrow in male and is shorter and broad in female. In adult, abdomen is formed of about 10 segments, while 11th embryonic segment is vestigial in adult. Not all segments are visible externally. The hiatal segments remain somewhat concealed. The abdomen contains sclerites, the trachea. There are 10 trachea in male, 7th trachea covers 8 trachea, while in female, 7th trachea covers 8 trachea. In males, the genital pouches lies at the hind end of the abdomen. It is bound dorsally by the ninth and 10th trachea and ventrally by the ninth sternum. It contains the dorsal anus, ventral male genital pores called as the gonapophysis or external genitalia. Gonophysis arise from the ninth segments in male and eighth and ninth segment in female. A pair of short, thread-like anal styles is present in males in both sexes. The 10th segment bears a pairs of jointed filamentous structures called anal cerces. These are tactile and auditory in function. Then next is the apertures. First is anus. Anus is slit-like apertures between the 10th trachea and ninth sternum. It is bounded by two podical plates representing the vestiges of 11th embryonic segment, genital aperture. It occupies the different position in male cockroach. The gonopore lies at the base of ventral phelomeres. In female cockroaches, the gonopore lies on 8th sternum and leads into the brood pouch. So